I can't believe when I was looking back there at your stats, it's a decade ago since you were at Dunfermline. Talk us through how the loan move came about to begin with, and why you felt it was the right club at that time for you to progress.
I didn't realise it was that long ago. Actually, 10 years. You're spot on. Actually, 2011. So, I was at the time. It was at Hearts, and I think it was in the last year of my contract. It was Jim Jeffries was the manager, and I think he just pulled me in and said Dunfermline are interested. Dunfermline had just been promoted, from the Championship. Can't mind what it was called back then, but into the Premier League. So I seen it as a chance to go and play, football in the Premier League, get football every week, because I wasn't always playing at Hearts, and I was also going into the final year of my contract. So again, just to get out and play and almost put myself in the shop window. So it was Jim McIntyre at the time, and I think he had asked about me and who was available, and I went in and signed initially just for the 6 months, in which I ended up just staying. I think, actually, I'm not sure how many folk will know this, but I'm pretty sure when I went in that Stephen O'Donnell had actually been in on trial. And for whatever reason, he either moved on. I don't know if he chose to move on or he wasn't off to Dunfermline. I don't know, but just funny how things work. He's went on and did really well, and Scotland international and stuff now. So he was in, and for whatever reason didn't take a contract or didn't get offered a contract, and that's why I'd come in on loan.
When you look back at your time at Hearts, and then you had a loan spell at Livingston as well, and then you came to Dunfermline, how, at 24-year-old, how did you feel you were kind of set up? Did you feel that you were ready to kick on at Dunfermline then in the Premiership, and you felt that it was the right level for you at that point, or did you feel that you still had a lot to kind of learn and develop in your career at that stage?
It was a tough one, because as I say, I'd been in an Arts team, and I'd been in and played some games and done well, and played some games and not done so well, and that's why I was kind of in and out of the team. And Robbie Nielsen was the mainstay there, and there was a couple other guys coming through who were kind of vying for his place. So I kind of knew that I was never going to go in and have a fully fledged career at Hearts, which was fine. So the opportunity to come to Dunfermline was great, and again to stay in the Premier League, was another good opportunity. I think the time at Dunfermline, they had been promoted, so coming up for the Championship into the Premier League, is no easy task. And I think the team found it difficult, and which meant kind of some of the players, we had some good results, so we had some indifferent results. So coming up and playing in the Premier League, it was great. It was good to actually get a proper run of games where at that level. And again, at the age of 24, I think if you're at the age of 24, you want to be playing regularly, and you want to be playing at the highest level possible. So I seen it as an opportunity to go, and again, it didn't quite work out as I'd hoped, which was fine. That that kind of happens. That's football. That's what happens. So you kind of learn from it and move on. Is kind of what I ended up doing in the end.
The reason I kind of asked that question the way I did was obviously Dunfermline, as you kind of touched on there, struggled that season, ended up getting relegated. I remember Jordan McMillan came in. I think he would have played it right back and vied with you for that spot come the January as well. You only played 14 games on loan at Dunfermline. When you look back at that time, how big a learning experience was that in terms of fighting relegation and the kind of pressure of trying to keep a club in the division? And how do you feel that helped you then moving on to Wraith Rovers and the success that you had there?
No, again, it was good experience and great to be involved, and it was a great set of boys. It was in Dunfermline, and I enjoyed that part of it. But it was tough. It came up, and the club maybe hadn't the strength as much as they would like to. Taking that step up into the Premier League for the Championship. That there's back then, there was maybe not so much now. Taking the step up for some teams might not be as big, but I think back then it was, it was tough for clubs coming up for for the league below. But it was good. As I say, it was a good experience. You learn from it, and that's the lows in football. I left in the December or January, whatever it was. I'd had a run of games, and I picked up a thigh. I tore my thigh. so I was out for a couple of months, and the manager did other plans. He brought Jordan McMillan in again, which is fine. That's happens. That's what happens in football. And unfortunately, for the club that season they went on and got relegated. And I think, I actually think Jim McIntyre might have been sacked, and I think then the administration stuff kind of started to follow on for that. So it was a tough one for everyone involved. Not just me coming on loan and playing 14 games for the boys who stayed the full season, for fans, for everyone associated with the club. In a nutshell, a good experience, but perhaps not one of the better experiences I've had in football.
I suppose it's kind of an obvious question, this, but I'm guessing winning the Ramsden's Cup at Raith was probably the highlight of your time, not just at Starks Park, but of your career. Yeah,
I think so. I think probably will be when I kind of one day sit down and look back on my career. And I've chatted about this before, that the Ramsden's Cup might not be the most glamorous cup for some, or the Challenge Cup, whatever it is, but that's a level I'm playing it, and I've no qualms about that. Is it realistic that I would go and win a Scottish Cup, Champions League, Premier Leagues, FA Cups, kind of thing? So you've kind of got to be realistic in what you can achieve, and there's different levels of that. So yeah, I think I think playing Rangers and beating Rangers in the final helps with that. It wasn't as if we'd played a lower league opposition, although they were in the lower league at the time, but Rangers, was a massive club, and you can see what they've went on to do now. So for that point of view, yeah, I think definitely make them winning the Ramsden's Cup, but and also I kind of grew up a Hearts fan, and to go in and play for the club that you grew up supporting again is something that I'll probably always look back on as well. And again, I won the League One with Arbroath when I moved there in my first season. Another huge highlight. My career. And again, it's about being realistic. Was I ever going to be part of a team going and win the Premier League? No. So what's next best? Championship, League One. So I mean, as I say, I'll look back one day when I finally retire. I might not be too far away. Who knows? But and have a look at what you've achieved and stuff.
You had 6 great years, obviously, at Raith Rovers. What made that club the one that kind of allowed you to kind of go on and really kick on in your career and enjoy your football at that peak stage of your life? And in the end, how hard a decision was it to leave and go part-time?
I think, to answer the first part, I think just playing every week helped. Going somewhere where you're actually, going to go and play every week, and you enjoy it and you feel part of it. That was massive. And you just become, players will tell you just find a club and it works. And for me, Raith Rovers was that one. Had again really good highs and some very low lows, relegation and stuff. But I mean that's part and parcel of football. That's kind of in the past now, and Raith have kicked on, and you're doing well again. So for that side of things, it's good. And then at the point where I left, it was again, it was year-to-year contracts, and it's no ideal. I had a young family and stuff then, so it was almost like, right, what can I do to plan here for a bit of the future? And I kind of made that decision to go part-time. I was offered another full-time contract at Raith, but again, I was at a point where I thought I could go and play part-time. I was at quite a good age to go and play part-time, and it's worked out quite well. I went to Arbroath and we got promoted for League One into Championship, and we've stayed in it since. So which has been great, and again, I've loved my time at Arbroath as well.
How are you getting on in terms of your own personal kind of injury battles and that this season? Obviously, limited game time for yourself so far. Are you getting closer to being back out on the pitch regularly? Yeah, I think I tore my meniscus the last game of last season against Morton. So not an ideal time to do it the last game of the season, just going in to have a rest and pre-season and stuff. So we tried to kind of rehab it over the break, and it didn't quite get to where we wanted to. So we had to then push on, and it just it wasn't a huge operation. It was just keyhole, just a tidy up my knee, but just the time we'd rehabbed it and the time it
to get the operation just with COVID and waiting lists and everything else. So I didn't actually get the up till the boys were back for pre-season. So, you know, missed a big part of a pre-season stuff, which, you know, wasn't ideal, but there was nothing that could really be done about it. So I've worked hard, and, you know, a couple of weeks ago I got some time against Morton, and it's just been trying to get games. You know, I've been training for a while now, playing the odd friendly. So I got back in last week for my first start of the season against Raith. Albeit, you know, we lost, but, you know, I was just delighted to get back out and be playing, and hopefully kind of try and kick on and, you know, and get the fitness up, you know, as the games continue.
For someone that's involved in the championship but not directly involved with either of the two clubs anymore, how do you view their start to the season? Obviously, Dunfermline really disappointing, struggling at the start of the season in the first quarter, hoping to push on as the season progresses. Raith started really well and trying to push for promotion once again. Are you surprised by either or both of the teams' form so far?
I mean, it's a difficult one. I know that the Dunfermline probably, you know, not doing as well as everyone had thought. But again, it's a really tough league. You know, I've been in the league now for, you know, close on probably 10 years. You know, give or take a year when I was in League One. So I know how tough a league it can be. And, you know, this season it's pretty wide open. You know, over the last few, you've had, you know, the Dundee clubs, your Hearts, Hibs, Rangers have all been involved at some point. So it's always been a difficult league to win and get out of. But now I think it's, you know, it's quite wide open. There'll be lots of teams, you know, who are thinking that they could have a stab at, you know, either winning the league or getting in the playoffs. So I mean, there's no given right. You know, like you say that, you know, Dunfermline, the last time they were in the Premier League was 10 years ago now, that, you know, you mentioned it at the start there. And so, you know, they've not been in it a while. So it just shows how difficult it can be once you drop out of it to get back up. And but as I say, it's, I mean, we're 9 games in with the first quarter. So there's still a long way to go. And, you know, Raith, we played them last week, and they were really good. They've got their style of play, especially at home. You know, they're difficult to play against. So again, they've kicked on, and, you know, perhaps two different ends of the spectrum at the moment with Dunfermline and Raith. However, I know, you know, things can change really quickly. You know, a couple of losses and a couple of wins can, you know, I know that, you know, better than most in that league, that a couple of results can go for you or against you, and you can find yourself, you know, up or down the table very quickly.
As always, thanks for taking the time to talk to us. I'm sure both sets of supporters are glad to hear from you and know that you're rehabbing well and going to be back out on the pitch soon.
Great, thanks, Jordan.